Okay, Ben. This should be a very ordinary show.
Yeah,
Nothing
just
out of
our
the nothing unusual
standard
going on
material.
here.
No,
Um,
in the same place I always am,
yeah,
surrounded by all the things that I'm usually surrounded by.
yes,
And yeah, everything's normal.
yeah.
We're all
Everything's
fine here
normal,
now. Thank you.
and
How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, pretty average week, really. Nothing too crazy going
Same.
on.
Same.
Um, I,
Too bad we
I
don't have
can't
any guests
It
to
would
bring up.
be nice if we had some guests to, fill in some things. I feel like we really need maybe a little extra help this week.
Well, we just don't
Um,
have anyone, so
we
that's the end of that.
don't. No.
Maybe we should just end the show and go home.
I
Do you think maybe?
I think that might be necessary at this point because,
Yeah. All right.
frankly, this improvisation has gone on way longer than I anticipated.
Hello.
Oh my goodness! It's
Viewers
Chris
of Security
Thompson.
Hazard, all the doors and entrances are locked. We're here to talk about my special interest.
Oh
How's it
no! Here
Yikes.
we go! Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about all things Gerry Anderson until Godzilla comes along and ruins it all. It's the Security Hazard Show. Welcome, everybody.
Yay.
Hello.
Your host is a man who has often gone on a rampage to destroy Tokyo. It's none other than Jack Knoll himself. Hello, Jack.
I just no, I really like Tokyo. Actually, I was.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna join you on that riff, but I was like, no, that makes me look really, really bad. So no, I actually genuinely do really like Tokyo. So
Like
no,
Godzilla, you are misunderstood.
it's very true, very true. Well, my co-host, what can I say about him today? Well, every so often he likes to make films where he dresses up in a rubber suit and thrashes around in a paddling pool. It's Ben Wolfpage, everybody.
You've been spying on me again.
Yeah, well, you do post those films so publicly. You do
Yeah.
make sure everyone sees them.
I do
Oh,
tag at everyone in the
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah, and we all have to go, oh, he's made another one, and we all get together. He has to have a premiere. We all have to sit and watch it, and we all politely applaud. Yes, Ben. Yes, the rubber was particularly tight this week, wasn't it? Yes, you did very well done.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
today, obviously, we have a special guest.
we do.
None other than Chris Thompson. Hello,
Hello.
Chris.
How's it going?
We're doing very well. We're very happy to have you here. And I gather that, well, I feel very left out because Ben and Chris, you're together in the same room because you've been busy scheming, plotting, maybe planning over total takeover of this podcast, perhaps.
Pretty much, something like that.
Yeah.
No, we've been shooting a thing.
Are you at liberty to share what you've been doing today?
Absolutely not, unfortunately. It's surprisingly on brand, but no, that's just something you're gonna have to wait for a little bit longer to find out. Sometime next year.
Very exciting indeed. But today, because we have Chris with us,
Hey.
what we're doing today, well, Ben,
Should we give Chris more of an introduction? I feel like I need to introduce Chris a bit more. Like,
go on,
Chris,
go on then.
filmmaker, artist, CG expert, model maker, illustrator, writer, director sometimes, like a wearer of many hats in the Gerry Anderson world, and well known to Gerry Anderson fans, I think, for the technical operations manuals, probably the most.
The ones that are currently behind Jack.
Yes, there's quite a few of them back there. All of those
All of them.
To one extent or another, Chris was involved with.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, myself and AC, and of course, Jack.
And me, yes.
Yeah.
You let me have a go at Joe 90, and I think we can all agree that we're all that was Joe 90.
It's actually one of my favorites of the ones we've done. So
Mine too.
I mean, I'm biased, but I do think it's quite good. So yes.
Mm.
But yes, no, of course.
The moral of the story is go buy the Joe 90 tech manual, please.
Please do. But yeah, so yeah, of course, yes. Chris's artwork is synonymous with Gerry Anderson, really, but also, of course, all of your recent work on things like Doctor Who and Blake 7 on those Blu-ray releases, all those special effects upgrades that you've been doing, all those models you've been building, which feels particularly relevant because that's sort of what we're talking about today, is a Japanese film genre called Tokusatsu.
Tokusatsu.
Nailed it.
And if you haven't figured out already, I'm so in the dark on this.
Whereas Ben and I are in the bright ambient orange light of this.
Yes.
Exactly. So, but this is what we like to do. Every time we have a guest on the show, we turn to them and say, what do you want to talk about? Just come on the show, tell us what your special interest is, and we will craft a show around that. And Chris came to us with this, and we said, yes, absolutely, we're going to do it. So we're going to head into our Scene Missing segment. Here we go.
Roll the videotape.
Two people watching.
Whenever, just so everyone at home knows, whenever the transitions play, I can't see what's going on at the time. But I did hear some voices going on in the background. So everyone at home, I'm none the wiser to what Ben and Chris are getting up to behind the scenes.
We weren't being
Messing
silly
around.
at all.
Yeah.
I'm
very
sure
serious
it was
people.
all very, very sensible.
This is a very serious podcast.
So, Tokusatsu. Ben and Chris, what is it? Can you explain it?
Yeah,
To those who
explain.
don't know.
So it's a genre of Japanese cinema and TV and things, and it generally is kind of like it revolves around sci-fi and monsters and model effects and things like that, and it's kind of like encompasses a lot of their superhero and sci-fi genre.
Mhm.
But usually it does involve like a lot of miniature effects. Like if any of the ancient shows were made in Japan, they would just be assumed to be tokusatsu, is the best way to probably describe it to this audience.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that they've been doing for years. Like one of the first sort of instances that I'm familiar with is a film called The Mysterians, which is from the late 50s, and it sort of
Mysterians, you say?
Yeah, the Mysterians.
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 Interesting.
And it's continued all the way up pretty much to present day. Like they're still making like monster movies with model miniatures and all that sort of stuff like today, which is pretty cool. Like particularly whenever in the West, a lot of that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Now, what's the connection to Godzilla? Because Godzilla, when I think of Tokusatsu, Godzilla is one of the first things I think of. And is that like the original Godzilla from like 1954 or 1957? Is that a Tokusatsu film, or does that like predate it in some way?
I don't know if it necessarily predates it. What I would say is that the Godzilla genre is a wide genre. Like it's if you compare the original Godzilla film, which is this incredibly poignant, dark, moody monster movie, which deals with like Japan's recent memory of being bombed by like experiencing nuclear fallout from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and you compare that to Destroy All Monsters, or even the movie that preceded this, Son of Godzilla, like which is like a
Yeah.
nice, fun island comedy. Like it is an
Right.
incredibly wide genre.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
like I don't know if the original Godzilla necessarily counts, but it's definitely where it was formed,
Okay.
along with these other productions.
Right, right. And so today, the sort of, well, we again put it to Chris, what do you want to talk about on the show? And I was very much like, you need to guide me here on what I should watch, because I have absolutely no idea, no point of reference whatsoever. And the first thing he directed us to was the movie Destroy All Monsters from 1968. So very much the period in which the Gerry Anderson and Century 21 and everyone was operating in the UK, doing amazing puppets and special effects and stuff like that. At the same time, over in Japan, you have things like Destroy All Monsters going on, and I have to say, what an experience that was to watch. That was my first Godzilla movie that I've ever seen.
I was funny enough. I was watching it with enemy of the podcast AC, like a couple of nights ago, and
Enemy of the podcast, very good. They'll love that.
It did occur to me, like, sort of early on when I was watching it, when there's that scene where they kind of introduce the monsters that are on Monsterland. And I was like, each of these monsters had their own movie beforehand. I hope I haven't dropped Jack in the deep end.
I love that you dropped me in the deep end, though, because at the same time, it was kind of weird to feel like I'm stepping into something where there's clearly a lot that's gone before it. And yet, at the same time, it was so fresh and new and unlike anything I'd seen before that, yeah, it was, you open my eyes to a whole new kind of world.
Interestingly,
For people who've not seen Destroy All Monsters, what are the cliff notes?
so, well, Ben, do you want to take it?
I can try. So there's like a future society where most of the giant kaiju monsters have been like put under control on one island where they're all sort of corralled, and there's a security force that's like basically like making sure the monsters don't get loose, and they're traveling up back and forth to the moon, and then suddenly all this like order and harmony goes wrong because of a race of aliens from another galaxy, I guess they are.
They're from a planet between Earth and Jupiter.
Oh,
Between Mars and Jupiter, I think it says in the subtitles.
Yeah,
Right,
something
okay.
like that, yeah.
yeah. So this race comes along. They find a way to release/control all the monsters and weaponize them against the humans. And the defense forces of Earth have to figure out a way to defeat this new enemy.
Yes.
I guess that's sort of the cliff notes. Main cliff notes would be explodey boom, bang crunch crash, giant monster, flying saucer,
Yeah, ship go zoom.
ship go zoom. Yeah.
I think the sort of background to Destroy All Monsters, and one of the reasons I picked it, for one, it was actually the second Godzilla film I ever saw. The first one was a film called Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. The reason I picked this one is that even though it's halfway through what's regarded as being the Showa era, like the first group of Godzilla films, it was meant to be the last one. And it was meant to be up before this, they had all these sci-fi films. Like they had Atragon, which was like about a super submarine. They had Rodan, about this like giant pterodactyl bird. They had Mothra. They had King Kong Escapes, which was where Gorosaurus came from. And they had Frankenstein Conquers the World, which is where Baragon, who is in like 2 shots of the movie because his suit was broken,
Right.
along with Varan, which was another one that popped up at the end.
Oh yeah.
And the Spider, which is from Son of Godzilla and Ghidorah. So you had this entire... Basically, this was Toho realizing that the tickets weren't really being sold for this type of movie. It was going out of vogue, and TV was kind of killing the industry.
Interesting.
So they were like, right, let's just have one big last hurrah. So everyone's in the movie, but also
Right.
you've got like a cool spaceship as well, Moonlight SY-3 and its crew.
Yeah.
And essentially they just threw everything at the movie. And it did okay as far as I'm aware, so they just kind of kept making them, even though Japan went into a recession shortly after this, so the budgets got slashed pretty dramatically.
Right.
But it sort of kind of meant that it was interesting to show that to you, because it would be like, right, this is kind of all these movies blended into one.
Yeah, it very much felt like, yes, even though I wasn't familiar with all the individual elements, I definitely had this feeling of like, yes, they have thrown everything in a blender, and just a sort of the story is superfluous, really. It just kind of goes from one event to another, and but because it's so visually spectacular, and it's interesting you talk about the budgets getting slashed later on, because it doesn't feel cheap. It does have a sort of expensive look about it, but
Somewhat.
at the same time there is a lack of refinement in certain areas.
I think that is something I do find, because I would say that the Japanese special effects teams were doing stuff equivocal to this in the 50s. Like, they absolutely were miles ahead of us in the 50s, but then I think by the time that you got to this, which would have been opposite Joe 90, I think, there has been a sudden shift in that. Another issue I think with that is also the monsters. Godzilla and Angulus were the only two to get new suits. The rest of them were kind of just put together out of what they had in storage, which is why Rodan looks like that and Mothra looks like that. But it is one of those things, like the halfway through the film, you get a couple of scenes of the monsters attacking various parts of the world. So you get that lovely bit of Gorosaurus coming under the Arc de Triomphe. And then you've got that big, when they all come together to attack Tokyo, and you get some really beautiful shots of like Godzilla and Mando like going through the city, and it's going with them, and there's like a whip pan, and then Ronan's flying over, and it's there's that kind of stuff. But on the flip side, I do find, and this is more of a thing that it just sort of differs between how the Japanese used to do things and how we used to do things back in the day, is that they didn't distress their models as much. To the point that, because to them, they would look at a plane and be like, well, the plane's not dirty. So why would we put all the stuff on the models and things? And I think and the reason that we do it is actually not for realism, but it's a CG term called ambient occlusion. But by caking like a little bit of darkness around all the kind of edges and corners, you do kind of make things look bigger. But
Fascinating.
At the end of the day, like, there is so much special effects work in the movie.
Yeah.
It definitely wins on volume. Like, where it lacks in quality, there's definitely they definitely make up for it in quantity. There's just so it's like your eyeballs literally getting slapped with special effects.
It really, I mean, we open up on Monster Island, and it's beautiful, and that thing about how it looks so clean. Yes, it may not look realistic, but it does look impressive. It's a nice thing to look at.
It has its own visual language. It's its own world, and it all makes sense within the scope of that world, even if it doesn't quite look realistic per se. By the standards of, I think too, like culturally, there's different standards for what constitutes realism. I think in different places in the world, they have different ideas about what is or isn't.
Yeah, well, I think in Tokusatsu as well, there's this whole thing of like, which why it's kind of still about, which is like they don't necessarily care about the realism. Like, it's sort of become a tradition, and that's why they do it that way, and it tells the story adequately.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, the other, probably the most startling difference between this and your average sort of Anderson production at the time is that away from the special effects, you have actors. It's live action, which is quite actors. Remember them? Real people.
People, real people.
We don't talk about them very often on the show. But yeah, that has it. I was actually surprised how well I sort of accepted having the blend of live action and special effects. Actually, it works fairly well. You do have to, suspend your disbelief a little bit, but I think the thing where it does start to get a bit creaky for me is just when the guys in rubber suits turn up dressed as Godzilla and stuff. You sort of like, wait, so you're at a larger scale than the regular people. There's something about the way it's shot just doesn't. I can't buy the illusion, which I know is kind of the whole thing. So,
I think it is. It's sort of. I would say Destroy Monsters is probably kind of a mid-tier Godzilla movie. I think in actuality, sometimes they pull it off really well, and I think particularly by the time you get to the 90s, like the sort of the way that they slow the camera down for like the big movements and they composite the monsters in is a lot better. Because I did notice when we were watching with AC is that there's some shots where they've clearly not shot like high frame rate at all.
I was gonna ask about that because that's like one of the main things when you think about like Derek Meddings and what they were doing for Super Marionation. Like high frame rate was a huge part of that, making it slow, making it feel big. And like they seem like they're sort of hit or miss with that in Tokusatsu.
It is
sometimes they feel very small.
When you watch the
rockets, particularly,
I do think that is a thing because obviously the film opens with Moonlight SY3 launching from a base, and instead of what you would associate with the Gerry Anderson stuff, we'd have the big smoke plume and be shot upside down. The rockets do kind of go off and immediately kind of go up again, and also it's all its rockets going.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that too, because in Thunderbirds, we're used to seeing the like Shermully flares, that specific style of like the retros that Thunderbird 2 has for its like landing jets. It's like that bright orange flame. But these, they have like a really bright blue flame.
So I think it's actually when Matt Irvine was doing Blake 7, in an episode called Star 1, which we worked on recently, you can't actually see it in the episode, but the Nova Queen, which is the transporter at the start, has actually got those blue flames coming out of it. And apparently there were like small butane torches that you could like fire out. And that gives you that blue flame. And also it means that it burns, like it doesn't burn as fast as the flares.
Right.
So it gives you that little bit longer with it.
Gives you more control as well, probably.
Which, to be fair, like some of the stunts they pull off with Moonlight SY3 when it's like barrel rolling and it's on wires and stuff.
Right. I was going to say some of that stuff is and you get so used to with the Anderson shows the way that vehicles fly is relatively pedestrian compared to what you get in some of these movies. Like, some of the movements that they're able to achieve with just hanging the stuff on wires and the way they move the camera around it and stuff like that, it's really quite impressive.
I worked some of it out, I think, because I think the wires are not what you think they are. I think it's the on its side and they've shot it that way. But also, I think it's the way they fly things, whereas Anderson, you get a crucifix and you fly it from side to side. I think they have several operators and different points. And you saw it in Starfleet as well, where like everything's moving really precisely.
Yeah. But the way the camera like follows it around and stuff like that is just much more dynamic.
And then it also like is variable geometry. Like it's like the back kind of opens up and then the wings come out and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that side of it, is really extraordinary. Certainly I think is a little bit ahead of what Derek Meddings was doing. But then again, it's interesting because sometimes it really works. It either works really well or it doesn't work at all. At least what Derek Meddings was able to achieve was like a consistent style. Whereas I feel like in Destroy All Monsters, the quality varies quite considerably. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's all just a question of what you're prepared to put up with, I suppose. Yeah.
Like I think in some ways I'm a bit desensitized to it because like there's some like if you watch for instance some of the Gamera movies of this era. Or there's a Toei film, I think it's Toei, that did The X from Outer Space, which is another Japanese monster movie from a rival company. And it's notable for two things. One is that it is that kind of like, this is when the quality threshold is way all over the place. And two, the spaceship in it has the same noise as Thunderbird 2.
Oh wow.
Oh, I've got. Well, that's always going to throw you off. Anytime those sound effects crop up somewhere else, it's confuses your brain for sure. Oh, dearie me. Yes. So, what were my other takeaways from Destroy All Monsters?
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did enjoy it. I did have a lot of fun with it. I watched the English dub, which
So Ace and I tried to, because that's the one I grew up with, but the dialogue was a little offset, so we watched the sub for the first time.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I found the dub. I got used to the dub, basically. You have to, after the first 5 minutes where you go, oh, this is a bit stilted and awkward and strange, you just kind of get in. The dialogue is not the most critical part of the film, let's be honest.
I can't remember any of his lines, but I have a fond memory of the Moonbase Commander, and it's like every single one of his lines, the next thing he says is a complete non sequitur.
Right.
Like whatever way they did it in the dub, and I know Toho supervised the dub themselves, so it's kind of their fault. But it was just like he just sounded completely deranged all the time.
Yes, or you get there's a wide range of performance styles going from the extreme and very camp and very extraordinary to the there's a doctor or professor or someone in it who's very kind of playing it very minimally.
Yeah,
and that looks quite bad too. So the dub is interesting. I'm
interesting,
sure.
actually.
Sorry,
it's interesting at that point because so kind of a bit of an Anderson connection you could argue is that Toho would have basically kind of like theatrical players. So the cast of a Godzilla film, they play different characters, but actually the same actors pop up in different roles all the way through. So you actually get really used to seeing these people. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but in the first episode of Ultra 7, like, all the generals were all those kind of movie star characters from the Toho.
Oh, okay.
So, like, to me, like, because the lead of this one is a guy called Akira Kubo, and he's done a couple of them. And so I appreciate there's an element of stilted dialogue and stuff like that, but part of me is a bit like, it's like seeing, like, the Captain Blue puppet turn up again, or Ed Bishop turn up again, or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's that guy, like,
yes,
because like this time he's playing a villain or this sort of thing.
Well, especially because they're dubbed, I think gives it that extra quality of feeling like a little bit artificial in the way that the puppets do.
Yeah.
So that sort of adds.
I generally felt like this is the closest I've ever come to watching Super Mario Nation, but with live actors, basically. It kind of felt like that. So knowing that they were rotating the cast around in that way as well, even more so feels like that.
But also, when I was watching it the other day, it's whenever they land on the moon and find the Keelak base, and my brain was just like, this makes me feel so much like the Mysterons.
Yeah.
The way it's all colorful and stuff, and then like when it blows up, it just all goes grey, and you've got the laser that makes the musical noise.
Oh my goodness. That prolonged sequence of shooting that laser at that bit of metal in the hope that it would snap, and the whole cable catches fire, and all that business is extraordinary. Really extraordinary. To
be fair, kind of like the way that you would have Isharu Honda would be your Gerry Anderson, and you have Ijai Tsuburaya, which would be your Derek Meddings. Akira Fukubi did a lot of the music scores for these films, and actually his work is generally really, really good. Like, I love the Monsters theme, and even that little bit of music where, like, because it's a bit of a nothing scene, but it actually does add a bit of tension.
Yeah, it does. It's really, really tense. Yeah, I think it works great. Yes, the music is, doing a lot, which again, very similar to Super Mario Nation, really. It's just the music does have to carry a lot of what's going on, because otherwise, on its own, it's a bit bland. There's not much happening, but the music does do an awful lot. Totally pivoting, and I feel like this is probably already a thing that people discuss regularly online, and I'm new to it, but we have to talk about the Godzilla sound effect.
Skreonk.
That oft repeated squawking noise. I mean, oh my goodness.
Oh, his roar.
That's a roar, is it?
Well, so basically, for the first film, they wanted it to sound like really unnatural and unnerving. So Akira Fukubi got, I think it was like a double bass, and got a glove and smeared it up and down the double bass, and slowed it down. And in fairness to them, when you watch the original film, it is actually really, because it's much deeper and it's much more like reverberated.
Mm-hmm.
When you set it against like burning Tokyo and there's this big shadow in the middle of it that's Godzilla, it suddenly becomes much more haunting.
It's very effective in other films.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying about this one.
It's
not
just
put to best.
overused. There's just too much of the same thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
vary or change at all. It's just the same sound effect repeated hundreds of times.
This particular Godzilla is not my favorite.
yeah, that's
I don't think that's controversial, but maybe amongst Godzilla hardcore fans, but it's not. It feels more like a toy and less like
yeah. Well, I think because it's the same guy playing him since the first one, Haru Nakajima,
right.
and
It's
obviously
not a performance thing; it's just a design thing of the suit.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Like you actually see because they built a new suit for Son of Godzilla, which looked pretty awful, and you can see it in the water sequences. Like whenever Godzilla rapidly changes in design, that's them using last year's suit. There's definitely better suits. Like with Godzilla vs. Mothra, it's much better, and particularly when you get to the 90s, he's much more wolf-like. Like that looks really good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So there's
fair enough.
I think there is elements where because Haru Nakajima does put a lot of like by this point like Godzilla's kind of all like yeah, and like even whenever like the force field stops him on Monster Island, he's like he just like stomps off.
There is a lot of personality there, that's for sure. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah.
He's a handful, our boy.
I think like I do love it, but I think it's because I've become somewhat acclimatized to it.
Yeah.
But like if you watch the 90s or the Millennium era, like it's a lot more of a, I don't want to say there's a slightly different character to it. Like it's sort of, if the Showa one's a bit more of a gunslinger kind of thing, like the more modern ones are much more of an animal, but also like I am the top tier kind of badass wrestler man type thing.
Right.
Like it's a lot slower, it's a lot angrier, it's probably a bit scarier as well.
Fair enough. Someone who wasn't scary at all was the son of Godzilla. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, should we talk about the son of Godzilla? What is
so,
up with that?
So there was a film before this that established that, or what?
Effectively, Godzilla kind of went through this arc. So you've got the first couple of films where he's an outright villain, and then by the third film, King Kong versus Godzilla was a comedy. It wasn't released as a comedy in America.
It's such a hard switch. If you're watching the original films, like the first one is in black and white, and the second one is sort of in the same tone. They're very dark. They're very like moody, and they're kind of like treated more seriously and more realistically. And then there's a sudden hard switch to Godzilla versus King Kong, where it's like this is a totally different.
There was like a 6-year or 7-year gap, and I think they made a bunch of movies in the interim, and then they got the rights to King Kong, and they were like, so it's a King Kong movie with Godzilla in it. But then they made this kind of fun, jovial movie, and then the Americans tried to make it serious. I think was in their version. But then that sort of led to a couple of other movies, like Godzilla vs. Mothra, where Godzilla's back to being quite serious and dark, and there's this whole gangster crime subplot. And then they start going to space, so Ghidorah turns up. And that's when it becomes a lot more versus, and you sort of start to get this like Godzilla's actually the protector of humanity kind of thing.
Right, he becomes the good guy a little bit.
Yeah, and that sort of comes over to the Godzilla versus the Sea Monster and Godzilla, Son of Godzilla, where Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster was meant to be a King Kong film, where at the last minute the rights lapsed, so they just swapped them.
Okay.
And then Son of Godzilla was again supposed to be another lighthearted, fun kids movie, where they
trying to get more kids in the theater.
Yeah, they introduced the baby Godzilla, which is not popular in the fandom.
Is it not? I had to. Do you know, I could guess that just from watching this one movie. I was like, how have I never heard of Son of Godzilla before? That sounds like a pretty pivotal piece of lore.
He's basically the Scrappy Doo of
yes.
this
I would say the movie Son of Godzilla, for the most part, is actually a really good time. I would probably if you were going to watch more of these, I'd maybe put it to the back, but by the time you're indoctrinated to all this stuff, you'll be having a good time. There's a giant spider and giant other things. But yeah, I think he's kind of here just because, it's because they were throwing everything at the wall, and it's like, oh, well, Minnie is here. So, yeah. And he gets his little bit at the end where he has his little smoke ring that goes around and kills Ghidorah.
That was a moment that happened in the film.
Yeah.
The son of Godzilla just makes a smoke ring and kills the three-headed beast.
That's, I guess
spoiler alert
for
that's a wild thing that happens.
For I guess the benefit of the listeners, the film. So spoiler alert. Humanity is able to bring the monsters back under control by going to the moon and disabling the control unit, and that means that they can use their control unit to sort of bring the monsters to the Keelak base at Mount Fuji. So you assemble all the monsters, and then the Keelak summon King Ghidorah, which is like the most powerful monster.
But he's an alien.
Yeah, he's
King
an alien.
Ghidorah is not from Earth. Most of the others are from Earth.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
And they have a big fight, with again a rather knackered-looking King Ghidorah suit. And there's some good bits in it, but yeah, it really. I think it's like it's to me, it's like the end of term. Like we're wheeling out the TV, except the TV is King Ghidorah. The crap out of this poor three-headed dragon.
Yeah, there's some stuff with the three heads that I feel like is done quite well. Really,
they always do really well with Ghidorah because, I think it takes multiple puppeteers because there's one person in the suit, and then the suit's obviously gotta the wings have got to go, the heads have got to go, and then the other monsters, I know Gorosaurus, for it to roar, somebody up on the rafters needs to pull the string really hard, and its head goes back. So apparently those sets would be pretty mental whenever you just be wire flying everywhere and Godzilla's tail's on a wire and all that stuff.
I can't imagine trying to do all that.
There is a certain extent to which you feel like the cameras are just rolling and whatever happens.
It is directed, to be fair. It's not like wrestling or anything like that. And I think
it did make me think of wrestling though.
Yeah.
I was like, this is wrestling.
Particularly with the TV guy commentating on the whole thing. Yeah. I was just like, we've just sat down to watch a wrestling match now. That's all this is. It's given up on being a movie. We're just here to watch some sport. Really. That's definitely how it felt to me anyway.
But yeah, so because usually it'd be like a one-on-one kaiju thing, and there'd be like a human subplot that would be tied into it in some way. So there'd be a lot of stakes and drama going on. But I think this time it really was this is let's have this final bash, and then you've got the Moonlight SY3 gets its moment with the fire dragon, and which I thought was pretty fun.
Very much, probably the most Gerry Anderson sequence.
Yeah.
That the SY3 doing battle with the fire dragon,
and then you do get that rather somber little roll call at the end where they're sort of wishing goodbye to all the monsters, and you get the one shot that Varen's in because the suit was too knackered to use.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's weird that because from my perspective coming in, I'm thinking, the monsters must be the baddies, presumably. That was my impression coming in, but they're sort of treated like just your in-laws, kind of they're just that weird side of the family that you don't really go and see very often.
Well, I think it's interesting because obviously all the Godzilla films are usually set around the time that they were made, And then you have this film set in the far off time of 1999. And it's one of the things I really like about Ishiro Honda is that he really believed in like human cooperation and things like that. So all these movies always are like the United Nations are like is the main character, and everyone is trying to like the world's going to come together and solve these crises. And I really like the way that it does start with the world came together and find a completely humane way to like solve the kaiju problem.
Right.
It's very lovely. Yes, it is indeed. And then one of them goes into the sea and eats a dolphin.
Yeah.
It's not lovely if you're a dolphin, yeah.
Funny enough, actually, the early version of the script was basically Jurassic Park. Like, it would have stayed on the island.
Right. It was totally Jurassic Park for a second there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it was. But...
It's such a piece of work. It's such a piece of work. Destroy All Monsters. I don't know what to say about it. It's such a...
And you know what the best thing
one of those things that you have to see to believe.
And you know what the best thing is, Jack? There's another, basically 30 of these movies.
30. 30.
Yes.
Is that all?
Okay.
I think it's more, actually.
I would think there's probably more.
They keep making them, yeah.
They're along similar... I mean, I'm guessing there's lots of recurring themes going on.
The common thread is, and Godzilla was there.
Okay. Yeah.
Romantic comedy, and Godzilla was there.
Yeah.
But you sort of compare this, and then the first one, but then the one that just came out there, Godzilla -1, which is like a very somber, like, movie about a kamikaze pilot that's trying to find his will to live. And Godzilla was there.
Okay, right.
So... Yeah.
It's an incredible movie.
It is good, as is Shin Godzilla, which is
it's really good.
Shin Godzilla is like the one that was just before this, directed by Hideki Anno, is the name?
I think so.
And it's like a political.
Who has a Thunderbirds connection?
He does. He did Shin Thunderbirds.
Right.
He did a Thunderbirds Super Space Theater that was only released in Japan.
Oh, okay.
His first job, and he did Neon Genesis Evangelion, but he
what
made.
What is he most famous for?
He made Shin Godzilla, which is effectively a pastiche on the... It's a serious film, but it's a kind of a parody... Not a parody, but it's a commentary on the Fukushima incident.
Uh-huh.
And, like, how the Japanese government dealt with that. So... And even then, like, there's... Godzilla...
Jack is so skeptical.
Godzilla... Mothra...
I'm so lost. I don't know when you're being serious and when you're not. It's the problem.
Well, legitimately, there's a film...
It's all serious.
There's a film from 2004 called Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. But like the film is actually quite political because it's about at the time the Japanese government were thinking of removing references to the empire from its textbooks and its history books. So you have this film about these monsters that are inhabited by ghosts coming to punish Japan for forgetting its history. So there is a surprising amount of political commentary that goes on in these things.
Yeah.
And Godzilla was there.
So
also Giant Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also Boom. Also Spaceship Go Zoom. So
Spaceship Go Zoom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's lovely. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed the movie overall. I think it was good fun. Would I watch more of them? I don't know. I mean, if you guys had to pick one thing for me to go watch off the back of this, what would
pick one thing to restore Jack's faith in Japanese movie making?
Oh man, hard.
I just enjoyed all of it, but it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's like, as I say, it's like staring at the sun. It is just so much.
See, I don't know. Part of me would be thinking of is another movie called Atragon, which I mentioned earlier, and it's basically Stingray a year before Stingray, and I think the special effects in it hold up quite well. But also, there's a movie that I subjected AC to called Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and it's a time travel kind of romp with aliens from the people from the future coming to try and wipe out Godzilla, and then they accidentally create King Ghidorah. But the whole thing is it's really kind of fun. Like you have World War II sequences, and you've got all this stuff. So I don't know. It's sort of if you hit me with what you're into, then I can probably find a Godzilla film that somewhat encapsulates.
Is there a Godzilla film for everyone out there? Is that
there is? I truly believe so.
Excellent, lovely. Well, one of the other things that you recommended that we talk about today was a little thing called Ultraman. And
Like the way you said
Yeah,
it.
just like the way you said that.
Ultraman. Yes, I'm sure that's exactly how it's supposed to be said.
Ultraman.
It's just like birds.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
friendship.
We
Yeah.
love our
Sting
weird
Ray.
pronunciations of things. Yeah, Ultraman. TV series, so already you're kind of more in my camp. I think, as Ben has learned over the course of doing this podcast, you're far more likely to hook me if I only have to watch something for 30 minutes or so. And Ultraman was a recommendation. It's a 1966 TV series. But am I right in thinking, once again, you kind of dropping me in halfway through something? There was like another TV show
So
before
Ultraman
this?
is quite interesting because in 1965 they did a series called Ultra Q, and the best way to describe Ultra Q is the X-Files with monsters. And then, as best as I can tell, Thunderbirds happened. So Ultraman, in addition to basically starting the Japanese superhero genre, also was like, and we've got all these vehicles as well.
Okay.
And particularly when we get to its sequel series, Ultra 7, like the Gerry Anderson references become very obvious.
Obvious, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
But,
Yeah.
Like, I always argue that, like, because I don't assume that if I see two, like, causation isn't correlation or whatever like that, if I see two things, like, that are similar, I don't immediately assume that one inspired the other. And I think for a lot of the Godzilla stuff, I think that's not necessarily true. But by the time you get to Ultraman, and they're literally gluing Imai moles to the side of spaceships and like other Thunderbirds model kit bits, I am like, maybe.
Right. Yeah, it's not my headphones cut out while you were talking there, but I still just about heard some of that.
This is like a good way of measuring this conversation is whenever we're just talking away, Jack's like, yeah,
yeah, yeah, really cool. Yeah. Yes. So okay, so they can, yeah, because I also watched some Ultra 7 on your recommendation and definitely felt like, yeah, okay, the vehicles are becoming more of a part of this now.
Yeah, the Ultra Hawk might have some sort of Ultra Hawk 1, Ultra Hawk 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's some crossover there for sure. But yeah, Ultraman. What's the premise of Ultraman? Just for those who don't know.
Ultraman is it's effectively, so they're high volume seasons. There's like, I think there's about 40 episodes per season.
Pausing to think about it for a second.
And effectively, it was their attempt to bring the monster movie genre and all the stuff that you saw in cinemas, like in Tokusatsu, onto TV. So like with drastically limited budget and like just a huge array of episodes. Ultraman himself is an alien that, while chasing like another alien entity, like an evil alien entity, accidentally causes the death of Shin Hayata, who's a member of the Super Science Patrol, and who are basically like a service that sort of investigate mysterious happenings on Earth.
Paramilitary, but with a scientific spin, sort of like in the Anderson shows.
And to save his life, he merges with Hayata, and that means that whenever Hayata is in a position to fight a monster, he can turn into Ultraman.
Yes. Who is essentially, again, just a man in a suit.
Yeah, a big silver man.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Love it.
So, what I would say is, I do have a soft spot for Ultraman. I would say every Ultraman episode is basically kind of the same.
Okay.
There's like, to be fair, it's the human stuff is usually quite engaging because there's a lot of stuff going on, but it usually does devolve into a situation where Ultraman tries to fist fight a monster for about 2 to 3 minutes, realizing that his power is about to go out, and then does some sort of beam attack that he could have used 3 minutes earlier to bisect the monster cleanly in two.
Right.
So, I do like it is fun. It's enjoyable. It's very interesting to see like the shift in tone of where the Japanese filmmaking process was going. But yeah, I think Ultra 7 is definitely the better show. I would say.
Okay. Because I watched the first episode of both. Which, I mean, maybe the first episode's not the best, not necessarily that representative, but I felt like there was a little bit of the, when it came to Ultra 7, it was a little bit more downbeat, I want to say.
More adult, I think, Ultra 7. Whereas Ultraman is definitely much more for kids.
Okay.
Particularly about the side control in their like little orange outfits and their ties. And
their ties. Oh my goodness. I love their ties.
XL5.
Yes.
Like early Super Marionation level costume design.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes it feel like a puppet show a bit. It's like the way everybody's dressed in primary colors. They have like little gadgets for communicating with.
Yeah, they're badges that have the little antenna.
Yeah, that was really neat. Yes, I quite like that. The only thing is, it is a bit awkward when they're sort of having to talk into their shoulders.
Well,
it's like a neat idea in theory, but yeah, it didn't quite work.
Yeah, and I love the way they've got their blue sports jackets, which they can rip off at a moment's notice.
Yes, we love a bit of that. Oh yes.
Submarine and the spaceship. I've got actually the
it's all here.
The Jet VTOL.
VTOL, yes.
The present from my brother that Richard Ashton put together. Richard Ashton's a model maker that I'm quite friendly with, and it's got a little canopy, and you can see the guys inside.
Gorgeous, very nice.
But there's a lot of really fun designs in Ultraman, and as the series got on, they just got gradually more weird.
Okay, well that's nice.
Again, there's so many Ultraman series, and all of them had like a small flotilla of spaceships and things, and some of them are just kit bashes of Gerry Anderson model kits.
Mm-hmm.
But
and I have to say, the overall standard, like comparing between the TV series Ultraman and the feature film Destroy All Monsters, like the quality is still there, even though presumably the TV series is done on a much lower TV budget. The quality of the model work and everything else, I think, is still there, and there's some lovely live action location filming as well. It all looked very, very lovely.
It's something I wish we'd do more of these days, is just make these incredibly, like, you don't need a huge budget, and just be open to the fact that your show is not going to maybe look as good as a cinema film.
Right.
Like, because there is elements of a lot of these shows, they would just turn up and guerrilla filmmake. Like, they'd have a car, a fancy car, and they'd turn up, and like they would have like a small crew or whatever, but like, there's not a whole lot. Like the live action stuff and the monster stuff are in two completely different worlds that they've never got to put together. So that they do take advantage of that pretty well. I would say, Ultraman is made by Subaraya Productions, so it is the same guy, Ijai Subaraya, working on Ultraman, that's also oversaw the effects of Destroy All Monsters.
I see. Okay.
I think Destroy All Monsters was probably one of the last ones he did, because I think he was ill by that point.
Oh, really?
But it was that he did kick this thing off, and his fingerprints are all over it.
Yeah. And I guess it just goes to show like the talent and the expertise there on how to. You could just tell they've got their tricks, and they sort of know how to pull them off, sort of regardless of what the budget is, really. Like little details, like how the way that they film water and stuff like that, like miniature water. Some stuff that Derek Meddings would always say is incredibly difficult. They really don't shy away from it at all, and it has a look all of its own, which I think, as I said before, it's not necessarily realistic, but it looks nice. So you sort of forget that it doesn't look realistic, and
it's one of the things
actually,
where
there's still a level of detail in some of those landscapes in particular that blends quite well with the live action. So yeah, it's nice to look at, that's for sure.
It hits your brain in a really nice way, because we've been doing some like model landscape stuff on one of the projects I've been working on, and like when you put a little diorama together and you have a spaceship landing in the middle of it, like it just hits your brain in like the perfect way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this is just sort of a unique thing to me, but like everyone who looks at it are just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, oh, it's like a little landscape, and oh yeah, the ship just landed, and we have like air blasting out of it, and
Yeah.
I think that's why I can, like, for all my criticisms, I can watch these things all day.
Yeah, they're just nice. They're just nice to have there. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Are there any other? Are there other TV shows like Ultraman that are made in the same style? Because yeah, as I said, I think like maybe feature films you lose me a little bit just because of the duration of them. But if there's more TV shows like that, I'd be curious
in
to
that
dig into some of that.
way that the Japanese do is that they make a TV show and they're like, we like this TV show, we're going to keep making it forever.
Okay.
So that's why there's 20 or so series of Ultraman that like have a different Ultraman every series.
Right.
There's and movies, and then you've got Kamen Rider, which is like the bike guy that you'd see over there, and he's got like 20 or so series. I don't think he does like. I don't think he fights monsters or anything.
No.
There's a couple of one-offs that you'd sort of see. Like there's one I quite enjoy called Iron King that was done in the 70s. And it's kind of like Ultraman. Like there's a character that can turn into Ultraman, an Ultraman adjacent character. But it's mostly about this like martial arts guy that's been trying to take down these various criminal organizations that also have monsters.
Nice.
But
monster crime, a real problem in the modern cities.
But like the one that people would be most familiar with is Power Rangers, because that came from a show called Super Sentai.
Okay. Yes.
And particularly early Power Rangers, like as soon as they transformed or morphed, that they're in the stock footage from Super Sentai.
Okay.
So they actually shot very little new stuff for Power Rangers in its early series, and they tried to do that with a couple other things, like Big Bad Beetleborgs was one that came out around the same time, and it was based on one of the other sort of Japanese series along with VR Troopers. So they kind of there's a lot really.
There's a lot. It's sort of opposite of the Anderson shows in that way too, where the Gerry Anderson shows, they basically like made one show and then it would end and they would do a completely different show.
Yeah.
Like every show was a big departure from the last one in some ways, particularly post Thunderbirds.
But I would say, having watched the pilot for Ultraman and then the pilot for Ultra 7, like it's not
worlds apart.
Yeah, like they've kind of it's almost like the same vibe. Like it's like they've sort of shook everything up and put it back
changes, again. But the basic core ingredients are still the same.
Yeah, I think in the pilot for Ultra 7, they sort of integrate that kind of Pokemon-like mechanic that did inspire Pokemon.
Yes, I did pick up on that. Yes, where he's sort of able to dispatch
Capsule. Yeah,
dispatch him to do whatever was needed. Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I did wonder whether there was a bit of a Pokemon reference there. Yeah.
But you also start getting like the transforming spaceships. Like Ultra Hawk 1 separates into 3 bits.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because obviously I'm a big Starfleet fan, and the whole like spaceships connecting, forming other things, reconnecting, separating into fighters. Like that's a huge, like, I feel like Japan gave that to the world. I don't think anybody else has ever really done that.
This is the thing, because I can't think of any of the Japanese craft doing that before Ultra Hawk 1.
Okay.
And Ultra Hawk 1 was 1967, which means it was after Thunderbirds Are Go.
Ah.
So, and again, I don't want to be like, oh, this is obviously created by Zero X, but none of the mecha previously could do that. And then suddenly you've got Ultra Hawk 1 that has this like multi-vector assault mode. So
what you're saying is that there's a direct line from Zero X to the entire giant robot
there might
subgenre?
Be. I think it's just whenever you look at Ultraman and like the ships are called Ultra Hawks. Ultra Hawk 2 is basically Thunderbird 3. They have a secret like mountain layer with retractable bits and over convoluted launch sequences.
Yeah.
I think there may be a correlation there.
Right.
Seems likely.
Yeah. Which then ends up feeding right the way back round into Thunderbirds 2086.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And Terrahawks too, to a certain extent.
Yeah, Terrahawks as well, yeah, with Battlehawk and Terrahawk on top of that. Yeah, it all comes back around. Yeah. Oh my goodness, lovely. So Ben, was this your first time watching Ultraman?
Yes, I knew about Ultraman,
Right.
but I had never actually like delved into the world.
So what were
not-
your first impressions then?
I'm not really like a superhero guy. Like I'm not a
Right.
big fan of like DC or Marvel. So I avoided it previously because of that.
Mhm.
It's just a bit if Destroy All Monsters feels like a wrestling match, Ultraman is even more so.
Yes.
It's definitely like, oh, we're gonna show some wrestling moves.
Yeah.
We're gonna go
Yeah.
out there and wrestle, which is not a bad thing. It wouldn't necessarily be my preference. I'd probably go the other way and watch the movies more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's something about Ultra 7 and all the different like wacky monsters that I'm like, I have to watch more of that. More monsters is where I'm at.
I think
Alright.
Ultra 7, because like it's not quite the same, like every episode he's got to morph and then beat the crap out of a monster, and then before the 3 minutes are up, there's a lot more flexibility with the Ultra 7 kind of format, which I think they kind of learned after making 40 episodes of Ultraman. They were like, maybe mix this up a bit. But like a part of that does come with like the monsters are they get so crazy. Like there's one, I can't remember if it's Ultraman or Ultra 7, where this monster just dies at the start of it, and the entire episode is them trying to work out how to get rid of it because it's just in the way. And it just gets progressively more funny. Like it just sits there.
Yes.
Wow.
But you get fun little bits and bobs like that.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I really enjoyed in the opening of in the pilot episode of Ultra 7 the moment where the guy stands in front of the car and he won't move, and they try and blast him away, basically, is what happens. But then he ends up just hiding on the roof of the car and it's all fine. That was quite funny. I enjoyed that.
Remind me, so why is it called Ultra 7? What are the 7?
He's the 7th member of the Ultra Guard at the end.
Ah, got it.
Because this random man that they found randomly is just basically taken and given to this elite unit.
I mean, he like solves all their problems, so they have to give him a job.
Yeah, basically, I think is a pretty good assessment of that.
Yeah, they sort of set themselves up to try and solve the problem themselves, but it turns out they really don't know what they're doing. And so, fortunately, Dan comes along and saves them all, and that's great.
Yeah,
That's how it goes, pretty much. So,
but I think it's interesting. A lot of these series all have the pretext that no one knows who the Ultraman character is. And it gets progressively more over the course of these episodes where they're like, have you not worked it out yet? Like,
it
Hayato
hadn't
keeps,
even
like,
occurred to me that they were sort of trying to keep it
Yeah.
all secret.
yeah.
Oh my!
So, yeah. So it's one of those things that like it is interesting that they keep, because I think in the next series it's actually 2 people that are Ultraman, because like basically they have to merge to become Ultraman Ace. So like they do mix that up a little bit over time.
Wow.
But yeah,
There's just
trying to
no-
keep up
there's
with
something
all of
about-
the lore.
There's something about Tokusatsu that's just like, it's fearless filmmaking. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They're just like,
Right.
we're just gonna do a story about 2 men merging into one superhero, and he'll be Ultraman Ace. And like, if that idea was pitched to me, I would be like, that just seems like it's straining credibility a little bit. Like, don't you think? But there's nothing too far for Tokusatsu. You can try anything.
I think that's what I like about it, is that like it's sort of they don't care, but they do. It's that kind of way that like if you watch Indian cinema and like they will find the most over the top action sequence for the most pointless things. Like if a guy wants to give a girl a rose, he will flip his car over her, hand it to her in midair, and then perfectly land the car and drive off, which is an actual film. And you sort of get that with some of these films. Like some of the shots in Destroy All Monsters, did they have the ability to pull the shot off? Maybe not. Did they do it anyway? Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Did they give it their all as well?
Yeah.
Like they really go all out.
even like that bit when the military are deploying, and you get that bit where that truck pulls up, and then two guys just come out of it, like look around, and then go back in it again.
Yeah.
Like that's really early blue screen work.
Yeah. And it doesn't look too bad, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why it's not done very often that they combine the live action with the. I'm talking about this because I'm encountering it a lot with Space Precinct, where I'm reviewing it at the moment, where they composite, live action with the model shots, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I had to say, by comparison, looking at it in these movies and TV shows, it's like not too bad for the technology they had available at the time to do it. It's so, but yeah. I think, the main appeal is that the live action takes place in one kind of sphere and the special effects in another sphere, and they get quite beautifully combined together in the edit. Editing's great as well. Love the pace of it. It's it moves along at a fair whack, which is great. Really, really, really good fun. And I would say if anyone watching or listening has been amused by my complete bafflement by all of this. It is bafflement, but I did enjoy it. I am curious. I don't know if there's room in my head for taking on more of it, but I certainly wouldn't be against revisiting in the future. So I have to say thank you, Chris, for bringing it into my awareness.
Like, what I say, I guess, is sort of in the way I encountered it. Like, if you're a Gerry Anderson fan and you're like, oh no, I've ran out of Gerry Anderson, rather than rewatching everything for the 30th time, maybe give one of these a go. Like, just pick a random Godzilla film or pick a random one of these series, because like it is more of that.
It really is. Yes,
effectively,
it definitely is. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, if you could either go to this stuff or you could go to Irwin Allen on the other side of the coast.
That's something we've had on our little list for a while of what to do on the show is Irwin Allen, because I'm not so familiar with that either, but I hear it's got some parallels, so that might be one to explore as well.
When I was doing the Stingray manual, I did watch a lot of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Okay.
Which, just because I wanted another perspective in there.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, I think we've probably covered as much of the topic as I'm able to fit into my brain right now. But I have to say,
it's so overwhelming.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of fun today. It's been very, very lovely. Any closing thoughts? Between, I suppose. Okay, so if you had to pick between Destroy All Monsters, Ultraman, and Ultra 7, where would you recommend people dig in who are new to this?
Like, I would probably say I'd veer towards Destroy All Monsters, but honestly, like, if you were wanted to look at one of these things or look at one of the Godzilla films, just look at one of the trailers. Like, there's a film that was a couple of films beforehand called Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, and that's kind of like a light version of Destroy All Monsters. Like, I think it's probably a bit better, but it doesn't necessarily have as much going on. So I'd probably point people towards that one.
All right. Well, there you go. You've had your recommendations, everyone. Well, thank you, everyone, very much for tuning in and listening to the Security Hazard Show. We do broadcast every single week live on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. UK time. Head to youtube.com/JackNoll and subscribe, and you can watch and listen to us in real time. We appreciate everyone who's been leaving their comments in the live chat. I've seen a lot of recommendations for what I should watch next, so thank you everyone for giving your suggestions there. But you can also listen to us on your audio platform of choice, things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that kind of thing. Wherever you get your podcasts, please rate and review us. It helps us climb up those charts. But Ben, if people want to maybe help us out or maybe get a little bit more Security Hazard, where can they head to do that?
More?
Yes,
Why,
we
you can
will.
get more on our Patreon, patreon.com/securityhazard. There we have all sorts of exciting stuff. I've just reviewed an episode of Thunderbirds Are Go, giving my live reaction, watching it for the very first time.
Mhm.
So much exciting stuff coming up on that page. Please do support us there. It really means a lot to us. If you can do that, please head over. We will be eternally in your debt.
We absolutely will. And for everything else, go to securityhazard.net. That's where you find all the social media links, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, all that sort of stuff. Just head to securityhazard.net. Blog posts, audio, podcasts, videos, everything. It's all on there. Ben, where can people find you?
I am benwolf.page on the internet. That's my link tree. You can find links to my Starfleet blog, to my Blue Sky page, where I'm Ben Wolf Page, to my Twitter, where I'm at Cinemarionette, to my YouTube channel, where I'm also at Cinemarionette. I'm all over the internet. benwolf.page.
You certainly are. Chris, where can people find you? Social media? What projects have you got coming up that you want to tell us all about? What can you tell us all about?
I'm in a
let
very
us know.
narrow point of the internet, so I'm over on ChrisXL5 on Instagram, and you can find out some of my stuff on CT Design and Illustration on Facebook. Project-wise, me and this guy are just about to release Blake 7 Season 2, or the BBC are, but
Yeah, we're not personally distributing Blake 7 Season 2.
But yeah, so I probably noticed the big girl up there, where we've got a couple of other bits and bobs that we're all involved in that hopefully we'll get to tell people about in due course. But yeah, and obviously the Thunderbirds Technical Operations Manual, I probably should plug that, is going to be going up for pre-order shortly. And yeah, it's the first couple of pages have come in and it's looking very swish.
That's on gerryanderson.com.
Yes, of course. Well, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Chris. We really appreciate you letting Ben into your home, letting him infiltrate your premises.
That is my home, and
so
into
that
my
we
heart.
can force you onto the show.
Wait,
it's very much
this is your
appreciated. Are you going to let him out?
No.
Well, Ben, I guess you're stuck there.
More puppets. More puppets need to be given lives.
Never mind. There's puppets. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Just leave me.
Well, tune in next week to find out whether Ben manages to escape or not. Otherwise, thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.